Am I the asshole for not allowing my sister to see my son because of something she said months ago? I have 2 older siblings. My brother, 32, and my sister, 33. I am 21. I found out I was pregnant last year. Everyone was more than happy for us and congratulated us. Everyone but my sister. My sister had to basically look after me and take on a third parent role and watch me on nights my parents worked or weekends they worked. Because of that, she blamed me and hated me because I was the reason she lost her childhood. I've apologized countless times to her because this topic came up frequently, but after a while I gave up trying to make it up to her for something I had no control over. Over and over again I'd get phone calls out of the blue of her reminding me how much I fucked her childhood up and had no remorse. By the way, shout out to all of you older siblings who were forced to grow up too soon and look after your little siblings. When I announced my pregnancy, my sister called me and ruined the moment by bringing up how she had to raise me, how she lost her childhood. Then, she started talking about my unborn child. Saying how I'm having my baby at an early age because I want him to raise his future little siblings like she had too. She continued on how I'd never make a good mom because I didn't grow up like she did. I finally had enough of her and went no contact. My son was born last month and everyone has gotten a chance to see him on FaceTime. My brother and parents were the only ones to see him in person. My sister got in contact with my brother and told him to tell me when she can see him. I told him to tell her she isn't allowed to see him because of the way she treated me when I was pregnant. I'm assuming she told our parents this because my dad wants me to let her see my baby. He said let bygones be bygones and stop living in the past, and my mom agreed. My fiancé is on my side. My brother is more on her side and only thinks she should apologize for what she said about me being a bad mom, which she's refused to apologize for because she insists she did nothing wrong. I am not too keen on letting her see him still. I feel like I'm being an asshole by not allowing her to see him. Am I the asshole? Editing to add, my brother also babysat me. He always said it wasn't as bad as my sister makes it out to be. Also adding he didn't watch me as much as she did when he started to play sports. I barely remember my childhood days, I just know she stopped looking after me once I was 8 to 9. Not the asshole. Your sister is understandably angry, but her anger is misplaced. She should be angry with your parents. Your parents forced her to give up her childhood to become a third parent to you. The things she has said to you are unacceptable. She should seek therapy and apologize to you. Your parents are on her side because she is blaming you for their abuse. It's your child and your choice who has a relationship with him. You have done nothing wrong. Congrats on your little one. Not the asshole your parents say, let bygones be bygones. They should tell that to your sister, not to you. Not the asshole. If she can't forget about the distant past, why should you have to forget about the recent past? She does not sound genuinely remorseful or apologetic. Why would you want someone so mean to you, when really she should be mad at your parents, around your baby? Not the asshole your sister's grudge behavior is extremely unusual. Especially at 33 fucking years old. The fact that she'd call you to randomly remind you that you stole her childhood from her. Older siblings having to take care of their younger brothers and sisters usually accept it. Yeah, being forced to grow up early sucks, but that is just life and most people are able to accept that, move on and live normal and fulfilling lives. Your sister is a pathetic weirdo, stand your ground. You know what's best. Don't let your parents make you feel guilty for going NC. Not the asshole whether you reconcile with your sister or not. It is odd that she blames you for the parentification forced on her by her parents. Was your brother not made to do the same, or was he not involved in raising you because he's male? Honestly, you sister ITAH by like 40%, the biggest asshole are your parents. They took away your sister's childhood, not you. Her blame for that is misplaced. She should be angry at your parents, since you know, they are the ones that are supposed to raise you. She is the asshole for being so rude and misplacing the blame. I can understand that she is angry and couldn't control the situation when she was younger, but now she is grown up and have to be responsible for her emotional response. Does she have children? Could she also be jealous? I feel the blame is way too misplaced. Your parents should also STFU, they do not get to walk away from the problem they created. Not the asshole. Firstly, it's not your fault your sister didn't have a childhood. If anything, she should be blaming your parents. Secondly, her assumption that you will be a bad mum because you didn't have to babysit anyone doesn't even make any sense. By that logic, every person without younger siblings are crap parents. Bloody ironic for your dad insisting that you let bygones be bygones, when your sister has spent her entire life holding this grudge. So until you are comfortable being in contact with your sister, she just has to bloody wait. Side note, I am 14 years older than my youngest sibling and never had I held a grudge for babysitting. The only awkward thing was people assuming I was a teenage mum of multiple children lol. Not the asshole. Because of that, she blamed me and hated me because I was the reason she lost her childhood. What is wrong with her? She should blame your parents, not you. I'm assuming she told our parents this because my dad wants me to let her see my baby. He said let bygones be bygones and stop living in the past, and my mom agreed. It is super easy to say that, when she is putting all their mistakes on you. Also, watching your brothers and sisters once in a while is normal. What did she want you to do? Not be born? You're definitely not guilty on this, and you have the right to not want to deal with someone who uses you as an emotional punching ball to avoid her own difficulties. Not the asshole. Your dad needs to give that advice to your sister and tell her to apologize to you. If she still has this resentment towards you all these years later, I wouldn't trust her not to be a dick to the baby. Not the asshole. Your sister needs therapy to reduce the heaps of resentment she accumulated over these years. The real assholes are your parents. Not the asshole. Everyone eventually has to learn that actions have consequences. That includes your sister. Blaming you for her lost childhood, accusing you of having a son this early so you can make him lose his childhood as well, and calling you a bad mom all have the same consequence. No seeing your baby. NTA your dad telling you to let bygones be bygones. Seems your sister is the one that needs to let go and put the blame where it really lies, with your parents. He is your son. If you don't want someone around him, then don't let them bully or guilt you into it. Not the asshole. Just because someone is blood doesn't mean they aren't toxic. Does she ring your parents and scream at them for losing her childhood? 'Cause that's where the blame really sits. Okay, I don't need to read this whole thing to say not the asshole, because she's already being about having to watch you as a child. This is not your fault. It was never your fault. You have absolutely no control over who watched you. It's entirely on your parents. Not the asshole. I don't think you can reasonably let bygones be bygones without an apology, because an apology implies some commitment or effort not to behave that way again. Without that, she had carte blanche to carry on misdirecting her anger at you. In short, she would need to make big changes in her relationship with you before she can expect to have a relationship with your child. Not the asshole. Your sister clearly has some issues with having been parentified, but she is projecting the anger onto you instead of its rightful place on your parents. She should go to therapy and genuinely apologize for everything she said before expecting to be allowed in either your life or the kiddos'. Not the asshole. Your sister has an issue with something your parents did, and she is projecting that on you because she finds it easier to do so. She can't be mad at her parents, so she's being mad at you. What she does not understand is that her anger towards you will get her nothing. She needs to go to therapy and learn to address this issue in an appropriate manner. You don't owe her anything but thanks and acknowledgement for the role she played in your upbringing. If you want to help, maybe nudge your parents to talk to her about her childhood. Have they spoken about this before? Not the asshole. And tell your sister she should be taking out her anger and frustrations in therapy and blaming your parents for the role she was left playing when you were a kid. Not the asshole. Let bygones be bygones. That is something you, and you alone, decide on the if, when, where, and how. Not the asshole. If we are talking about bygones, it's your sister who needs to let things go. She didn't even reach out to you personally about drinking your son. Stay NC. Not the asshole. Your parents' judgment is not to be trusted here. It's perverse that they lecture you to stop living in the past, when it's your sister who rants about things that happened 20 years ago. Your sister is in her 30s, but she's behaving like she's still 13. Your parents ought to have put a halt on her bullying long ago. That's ingrained behavior now, and you can count on her to continue being a nightmare around your child if you give her the opportunity. Your first responsibility is to your baby. Suggest you inform the extended family gently yet firmly that this isn't a decision where you need advice, then terminate the conversation if they raise the topic again. Your sister has harassed you for years. Has she apologized? You already said no to this. Did she actually mean said apology? Did she prove that she wouldn't harm your child by lashing out? If a single one of those answers is no, I'd keep her out of your life. And if your parents are trying to force this onto you, don't trust them. There's no guarantee they won't bring your sister in while they're babysitting. Heck, ask your parents if they ever apologized to your sister. No. Then why do you have to take this stuff? Not the asshole. Whoa. 32 and wallowing in self-pity about something that ended decades ago. She's a very sad person who needs therapy so she can move on. Not the asshole. NTA, she is living in the past. Is your dad aware of this? I can't believe your parents are telling you to let it go because it was the past when this entire situation stems from your sister not letting something go from the very distant past, which you are not responsible for. Does your sister bitch at your parents for making her babysit you? As someone who was in your sister's place not once but twice, parts are split, never married, each had another kid with someone else, I won't lie, I do feel resentment towards them, one more so than the other, but I would never dream of treating them like this as I know it was never their fault. I do however feel anger against my parents that still refuse to admit they did anything wrong and say I never raised my siblings, it was only them. Both parents missed their child's first word. I was there for that moment. One of them literally thought I was their mom for the first 2.5 years of their life. Your sister's anger is misplaced and I hope one day she will see that. Until then, stay no contact. You don't need an abusive person like that in your life. Not the asshole. Let bygones here bygones, doesn't work if the party responsible isn't willing to accept responsibility for her actions or change her behaviors in the future. Not the asshole. My sister raised me and my 3 other brothers and still had time for a life. And never once has she tried to hold it over my head. If your sister wasn't able to have a childhood while babysitting on the side, it wasn't your fault. It's nonsensical to blame you in the first place anyway. You were a fucking child. She's just a sad loser who would rather blame others than take responsibility for her own life. Not the asshole. Your sister is trying to blame you because she wants someone to blame for what she experienced, understandable. However, the fact that she's having such a grudge over something you had no control over is immature and shitty. She's 33 years old, she spends to grow up. On the other hand, I think she feels a certain grief over her missing childhood, and is angry about it. Try and get her to a therapist to talk about it. If she still can't mature and keeps getting mad at you, leave her, she's a lost cause. Not the asshole. You're not living in the past, your sister is. You're living in the present, where your sister calls you up and berates you for stuff that is in no way your fault. Yes, if she missed out on a lot of stuff because she had to babysit, that's crap. I'd be angry too, at my parents, not my sister. You didn't have a say in any of that. Your sister said, and has been saying, a lot of hurtful stuff. You have every right to avoid her when she's going to treat you like that. If she's angry at you for getting pregnant, is that going to be your son's fault next? You don't get to say horrible things to people then waltz in for fun stuff later. Your family needs to learn that lesson. My dad wants me to let her see my baby. He said let bygones be bygones and stop living in the past, and my mom agreed. Maybe say that to the one who's been reminding op for her whole life about how shitty her childhood was. It's okay for her to bring up and resent me for what happened years ago, but it's not okay for me to be angry about something that happened months ago. My older sister was forced to grow up early and raise me and my younger sister thanks to my dad pass at a young age and my mom giving up and saying fuck being a mom. My sister hated it a lot but she never blamed it on us. The younger kids can't control it, she said when I asked why she never was upset at us. It wasn't us who asked to be born and it wasn't our fault our dad passed and our mom basically gave up on loving us and taking care of us after. We were victims also in this and she'd never blame us. Your sister op her anger is misdirected, it should be at your parents. You should have had to apologize. And hold of on letting mom dad and your other sibling babysit cause my guess is the first time they do they will let sister accidentally show up and see the baby. Also not the asshole. I've apologized countless times to her. You've apologized for your parents making her watch you as an infant toddler. What TF input did you have into that decision? Does she want your apology for existing? What a wacko. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your parents should not have taken away her childhood by forcing her to parent you. They should have worked out their schedules so that they would raise you and paid for childcare when they could be there themselves because of work. But your sister should be confronting your parents over it instead of blaming you and criticizing you. Not the asshole, it's your child, you decide who can be around them. Do what you think is best. You need to stop living in the past? Like your sist is. F that. Not the asshole. It's your child and your choice, no one else's. Your baby doesn't need that toxicity in its life and neither do you. Not the asshole. I would just ask your sister to see a therapist. She obviously has some things she needs to work through. Not the asshole. She blames you for ruining her childhood. Not her parents who left you, a completely dependent child, in her care. You haven't gone no contact enough. It shouldn't be, well, tell my sister no. It should be, what sister? Not the asshole. I would tell your parents that until she gets therapy and apologizes to you for the things she said, she is not to have a role in your child's life. Kids can sense that kind of toxicity and I wouldn't want her anywhere near my child. Not the asshole. Your sister needs to grow up. Like, get over it already, fuck, it's been how many years? To bring it up out of the blue countless times. Sorry sis, but your bullshit negativity will not be around my baby. Bye-bye. Not the asshole. Why is your sister resentful towards you? She should be upset with your parents. If she's going to always try and guilt trip you for something you had no control over, then you should continue to not speak to her. Not the asshole, and your sister should blame your parents, you do not have any fault. Not the asshole, but your parents are for making your older sibling a parent. If your sister should resent someone, it should be your parents. Whoa whoa whoa. Hold on, they want you to stop living in the past. How about she stops living in the past and acting like a twit first? She brought this on herself by holding you accountable for something you had absolutely no control over, and now she wants to play happy auntie without even apologizing for her horrible behavior? Nope. Nope, not the asshole. Not the asshole. They told you to stop living in the past? That's literally all your sister is doing. Thanks for the shout-out, and if your sister is constantly calling you to remind you that you're a bad person, why in the 9 circles of hell should you let her see the baby? Your sister is a huge asshole and I don't get why everyone is being so patronizing and horrible towards you. You've done nothing wrong, I don't care how old she is, tell her she needs to quit acting like a 5-year-old and grow up. Edit. Forgot to mention, you're not at all the asshole, don't let people convince you that you are. Not the asshole, her hate is totally misplaced. You didn't run her childhood, your parents did by forcing her to babysit you. She needs to pull an Elsa and let it go. I can't imagine what her life is like blaming you for everything that goes sound in her life. I'd probably do the same thing you did since she can't get over what your parents did to her, and don't blame you if you continued until she apologizes and realizes how won't she is. Not the asshole. Your family would love to tell you to let it go and leave it in the past because it makes life easier for them. However, the fact of the matter is she is unjustifiably being an asshole to you. It's not your fault if she had to look after you, it's your parents' fault. She won't even apologize for saying you would be a bad mom when in reality she should apologize to you for everything she has said over the years if she wants contact with you and by extension, your child. You've made the right decision for yourself. Don't buckle on this, otherwise she will just continue to act the way she always has. Not the asshole. Your dad is telling you to let bygones be bygones, when it is your sister who clearly can't let go of the past. You have apologized to her, when it wasn't your fault to begin with, and she still can't let go. I'd tell your dad that your sister needs therapy, that helped me significant much as an adult. I ended up being a 2 and mom to my sister's oldest son at 13 plus, and that until she can let go of the past then you don't owe her a damn thing. Your whole family can get bent for being on your sister's side of things, when they are the ones who caused her issue. Not the asshole. Being asked to babysit younger siblings isn't ruining your childhood. Her behavior towards you is extremely unfair, and completely inappropriate. Given that she showed no signs of apologizing, I'd keep her away from your son based on the things she said.